Today I want to talk to you about the new line of Lake Fork products called the Hyper series of baits. And this is a great series of soft plastics baits. You might have seen them last year at the FLW Tour event on Beaver Lake. Owner of Lake Fork Tackle, Mark Pack, won that event throwing a Hyper Freak and a Hyper Worm. This here is the Hyper Freak. It is a 5-inch bait, and it's got a huge paddle on the end of it here and more of a bug style body to it. And this bait has so much vibration that it's something the fish have never really seen before. It's a great bait to throw Texas rigged, flipping it around wood cover or around grass. It's also great as a jig trailer. They just came out with a new smaller version of it, a 3.5-inch version that fits perfectly on a jig trailer and gives the jig a lot of vibration to it. It's a great bait to throw, especially, like I said, whenever you're fishing around wood or grass cover, and just rig it up like you would a normal beaver style bait. The next bait in the series, as I mentioned, was the Hyper Worm. It's a paddle tail worm that has these joint segments in it, which makes for a lot more vibration and a little bit more action to the bait. And you can rig it up on a jig trailer like Mark did at Beaver Lake, or my favorite way to fish it is to just take a 4/0 straight shank hook, rig it up with a 3/16 ounce true tungsten sinker, and just basically swim it back like you would a chatterbait or a spinnerbait. And it's going to work really well when you're fishing over top of submerged vegetation. This paddle tail with the joint segments on the body puts off a lot of vibration in the water. The fish will feel it. They'll come out of the grass and they'll really hit this bait hard. You can also fish it like you would a standard Texas rigged worm. That works really well. I tried that out in Florida this year and had some good success fishing it that way. This is the 5-inch model of the Hyper Worm. It also comes now in a 4-inch and even a 6-inch model. So they're all great baits. You should give those a try. The next bait in the Hyper series is probably my favorite, and it's called the Hyper Finesse Worm. And it's just basically a pintail style worm, 4 inches long, and it has those segmented joints in it just like the Hyper Worm. And this is an absolute dynamite bait to throw on a shaky head or on a drop shot. I threw this bait on one of our local rivers here on a shaky head and absolutely tore them up on it. The segmented body gives this pintail worm absolutely some of the best action I've seen on a finesse worm. And tried it on drop shot up on 1,000 Islands and caught a lot of smallmouth on it. So this has become one of my favorite baits right here, is the Lake Fork Tackle Hyper Finesse Worm. The last bait in the series is something new for 2009. It just came out within the last month or so, and it's called the Hyper Whackin' Worm. And it's basically sort of like a flick shake style worm. It's got the jointed segments on both ends of the bait, and then almost like a pintail style end to it with a little tiny ball on the end of both sides of the bait. And this is basically a bait that you would use for wacky worming, or the new the hot thing on the Torment Trail is the flick shake rig. This is a great bait to throw on the flick shake rig. It's got a lot of action to it because of the segmented body, and it's just a different look that the fish haven't seen yet. So I'm real excited to test this one out this year and see how it goes. But that's the new lineup for the Hyper series of baits by Lake Fork Tackle. You should give them a try. I think you'll be pleased.